This review was brought to you by Dorkside Toys. One order ships, two pre-orders take its place. Hail Dorkside. Okay people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Tonight I'm taking a look at Hasbro's Marvel Studios' The First 10 Years Marvel Legends, Civil War, Captain America, and Crossbones. And just for the hell of it, we're going to throw in the Captain America First Avenger Red Skull. I figure they're all part of the Captain America universe. Just throw them all together, get two out of the way, and then I'll have more toys open to play with. Now looking at the packages, you can see everything that you get in the window. In fact, there's a lot of empty space here. I think the boxes were made this size for some of the bigger characters. Because I also got the Thor and Sif pack, and there's less empty space because of the extra weapons there. On the end, there's corresponding pictures. You can line all of these up to make one large picture, but this is number 2. This is number 9. On the back, profile pictures for each of their Facebooks, little bios for each. Down here's the warnings, the unreadables. Probably says something like, if you look at these 3 characters from a comic book perspective, it should have been a 3-pack actually. Now that I kind of think about it too much. On the end, small little blurbs about the movie these figures come from. On the top, Marvel Studios logos. On the bottom, your legalese, your UPCs. But I'm gonna get these open and see what's going on here. And there we go, all out of the packages. And I definitely have my favorite out of these 3. Let's guess which one's my favorite. Taking a look at Captain America first, this is pretty much all reuse in the body. I think we've actually gotten this body several times before, maybe with some tweaks, but these feet are definitely familiar, as is the rest of the body. I think most recently we got it with the Civil War Captain America. So many caps, I don't know. I like how streamlined this body is, and I like the darker colors here. But at this point, I think of Chris Evans as kind of beefier, kind of chestier, kind of armier. A little bit thicker in places. And that's especially evident when you get up to the head, and it seems a little bit large on this body now. It's a whole new head sculpt, and the helmet is a separate rubbery piece laying over it. And I'll get into that in a minute because something's wrong. But the eyes do seem to be photo-reeled on, maybe the lips, but the skin's just kind of a flat, shiny plastic. The blue rubber helmet overlay kind of helps offset that a little bit, makes it look nice. If it was positioned correctly. And then there's Red Skull. This body, whole new sculpt, and it has a few articulation problems with it, but I love the overall appearance of it. It looks like a dude in a suit. The shoulders aren't ball shoulders. They go up into the tunic part. The lower jacket, the skirt piece, is rubbery. It gets out of the way, but you can definitely see there's a difference in material there. But as far as paints go, the reds, the golds, the black, it stands out nicely against the green base color. And the red is all nicely applied. Get up to the head, and it doesn't really look like the Red Skull from First Avenger. I don't know, there's something to it. I like the red shininess of it with the black wash. It brings out some of the detail, and it makes it look kind of nasty. But get to the eyes, and you can tell these are kind of G.I. Joe painted on. I don't think there's photo real here, which is a shame because I feel like more realistic eyes would offset the offness of the head itself. It'd make it look a little bit more badass. And then there's Crossbones. For all the crap sculpted on this body, and it is stuff all over the place. I keep finding different things like knives, shells, magazines, whatever. As much crap as is hanging off this costume, it still moves really, really well for an action figure. Just everything is nicely sculpted. I don't know how accurate all this stuff is, but my brain being my brain, it sees all this stuff and goes, yup, that's Crossbones from Civil War. And then the paints. They could have done some grays. They could have just done some blacks, some greens, but there is a nice little camo pattern to the pants. It's very, very hard to see. In fact, if they hadn't done that, I wouldn't have known the difference, but they did, and that's very, very nice. And then the head, ooh, this just looks badass. It's a nice sculpt to the helmet, and they did photo reel the eyes behind the helmet. So you have those peering out from behind the mask, making it way more realistic than Red Skull. The head may be a little bit small, but the detail makes up for it tenfold. Like I said, nothing really new to the Cap body except for the head, and you can see the head just seems just slightly large. Now I know Cap kind of looks like that when he's in his costume. It's not until he's wearing a t-shirt or something that you go, damn, Chris Evans has been working out for a long time. But with this being as old as it is now, them adding anything to it's gonna be kind of awkward. The helmet is an overlay, but you can see how mine kind of misses right there. It's high on the ears on both sides, and then you can see the groove in the face right there below where the mask actually comes down. So that kind of has the mask riding up into his eyes. And it looks okay from a distance, if you look at it like this. But I'd really like to try to peel the helmet off and try to get it further down, or at least glue this part down. Open up the eye a little bit, because they did such a nice job on the eyes, I hate to cover it up any. For Red Skull, you can kind of see a white dusting on the lower jacket piece that makes it look different from here. Or maybe this is just super matte, this is kind of plastic shiny. You can definitely see the difference. I see some people complaining about the bicep swivel and having it in hand. I kind of agree. There's no better spot to put it though. I mean, I guess they could make this a ball in there and then have this a flat cap that would go on it, kind of like I've seen with maybe SH Figure Arts, unless they went with a hinge and swivel at the elbow. But man, it's good to see a double elbow come all the way up. So breaking those seam lines and kind of jutting out when it's turned, yeah. And then as always, oh, here we go. I have a problem with the detents at the ankles. This one is really tough. This one, you can hear it. This one, it's like there's half as much detents in there. And what that does, as usual, makes it hard to stand. Gus, what are you doing? I think what comes into play here is when I pull it out of the package and start messing with it, trying to stand it for the initial pictures, it always wants to fall over. But as I'm posing in for pictures, moving it around, it loosens up a little bit, gets into a position where, yep, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Just one more odd thing too, the lower jacket piece, you can kind of straighten it out, pull it down a little bit. It likes to ride up as you move the legs, but you center the belt, things kind of gravitate towards the right, especially in the back. You can see it come down and then swoosh over here. I'm not quite sure why they sculpted it that way. Why didn't they just sculpt it in a natural, neutral position? I don't know. But there's that Hydra symbol on the shoulder, nicely sculpted. And then there's Crossbones. This figure, it may be a little bit small. We'll get to the comparisons in a minute, but oh man, such a sweet, sweet figure. Proportionally, like I said, the head does seem a little bit small, especially for a dude in a helmet. His head's smashed into that, and his shoulders may seem a little bit low, but with all this gear on him, it's easy to overlook that. And I didn't realize or completely forgot that you can take the gauntlet pieces off, and he's left with just a sleeve right here. Now this is rubbery, nice and easy to put on and off. Got to get his hand around that grip, but if you rotate this way, it rotates out of that grip. So what I suggest, if you're going to turn his arm, always go away from the thumb. That's always turning the grip into the hand and there's no falling out. He has these shells right here. He has magazines on this arm. He's got other forms of ammo and stuff on his vest. The vest does pop off, but you're just left with like a blank torso. But you can see the articulation up in there. It works pretty good. That just snaps back together, 2 pegs in the back. You have a pistol on this hip right here, does not come out of the holster. So if that's one of your pet peeves, prepare to be pissed off. And then if you think about it too much, he's wearing flooring knee pads. He's wearing shin guards. He's kind of got umpire gear, catcher gear on. You can also see some of the camo paint job right there. It's very, very hard to see, so subtle. But looking at the overall, oh yeah, that's nice. Going over articulation, if you have any of the old caps, you know what's going on here. You can look down a little bit, up, out, swivel, bicep swivel, double elbow comes all the way up. Hinge at the wrist, swivels, hinge at the abs, forward, back, swivel at the waist. Ball coming out to the hip can go forward, can go back. Out, not so much. It likes to crash right there. Swivel at the thigh, double knee, swivel at the boot, hinge at the ankle, back, forward, and forward facing pin for rocker. For Red Skull, there's a ball going up into the head, down to a hinge in the neck, down, up, a little bit of tilt, swivel, hinges out to about that far, swivels around, swivel at the bicep, double elbow, comes all the way up. Hinge at the wrist, swivel, ball at the torso, comes forward, goes back, little tilt, swivel at the waist. Ball joint coming out to the hip, goes forward, goes back, goes out all the way. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee comes most of the way up. Hinge at the ankle, back, forward facing pin for rocker. For Crossbones, ball going up to the head, hinge in the neck, can look down, look up, a little bit of tilt, swivel, out. This stuff is all rubbery right here, so it does get out of the way. Swivels around. Nicely hidden bicep swivel. Double elbow comes up to about right there with this big gauntlet thing on. Without it, it comes up to pretty good. The hinge and swivel at the wrist. There is a ball joint in the torso with the gear on, not a lot of range of movement. Ball going out to the hip, all the way forward, back, out. Swivel at the thigh, again hidden by the wrinkles and such. Double knee comes most of the way up. Hinge at the ankle, back, forward, and then forward facing pin. For accessories, Cap comes with his shield, and this is a different sculpt from the one we saw before. It looks familiar. I think we've seen this on one of the other caps, but I can't find any of my caps that may have this. On top of that, the red and the silver is much shinier than what I have. And Cap doesn't come with any holding hands, but the different sizes on these straps, you put this one on, and this one kind of forces over the fist, and it stays on. Doesn't fall off. Captain America also comes with an unmasked head, and I like the likeness here. It looks like Chris Evans. But this thing they've been doing of the hairpiece being separate from the head, it needs some refining, I think. Like the Captain America mask, you can see where the groove is in the head for the hair to fit, and they just didn't make it to it. It's a little high on the ear. Higher over here, you can actually see the whole groove mark under it. So it's not glued down. I feel like I need to peel this off, remove some plastic or something, and try to put it on seated all the way. I think that'll look even better. Because right now he has a little too much forehead. But given how the Cap head looks right now, popping that on, and still looks a little bit large. But what you can do, it looks nice, just a little bit large. Red Skull comes with 3 alternate heads. He comes with kind of a basic red lenses, not a lot of detail on the helmet. He comes with a more detailed helmet. It's got the straps going up and over, not red lenses for whatever reason. I don't know the differences between all the Hydra soldiers. But on both of these, the skin tone's kind of pale. You can see that it was painted on top of the black plastic. And then finally, he has the Gimp suit helmet. It's essentially like the last helmet, but he's got a breathing apparatus or some kind of mask over his face. And I think this is the Flame Trooper. I don't quote me on that. And popping the heads, not a problem at all. Put the other head on. I like this one the most. This is how this one's going to stay probably. And to complete that look, he also comes with a harness. And for being a completely separate piece like Crossbones' vest, it almost looks like this was made This was made specifically for this figure, but it was made very well for this specific figure. It's got a peg right here. You just pop it out of the hole. You put his arm straight up and you work it down over that arm and the head. Put it on, come around, snap that into place. It takes kind of a minute. Bring it down, and it's a nice fit for what this is. Like a glove. Well, not completely like a glove, but bring it down. There you go. Like a glove. He comes with 2 trigger finger hands, but the alternate left hand is kind of a weight-bearing hand. A weight-bearing hand? This is what he holds the weight of the weapon with. And the weapon seems to be a flamethrower. Fairly nice sculpt. It's got some silver paint on top of the black molding, but it looks a little bit warped. Here's the tube coming back. It kind of glides up and then back down here. Or maybe it's made that way. I don't know. Just seems weird. And on top of that, putting it in his hand, this isn't the greatest gun gripping hand ever made. You get it in there and you can't get the trigger finger in the trigger. It just doesn't want to reach, and he doesn't hold it very well. But you can put it here. You can bring the hand around, or put it on the front grip. It works for what it's supposed to be. And then Crossbones, not counting his punchy gauntlet thingies, he comes with an alternate unmasked head. And it's not bad. The sculpt is there. Again, it's kind of small, but I think they went a little too pink with the wound look to it. It just stands out too much. And it has kind of the same problem as the Captain America hair, where it had a little gap. The hair is a separate piece from the head, but they didn't quite get it seated all the way. But that pops off, that pops on, no big deal. For comparison, here's all 3 of them together. You can tell Captain America is a little bit large. I feel like he's supposed to be, but even going by head size, large. I keep saying large. Big. Not gigantic, not huge, but pretty big. But in the confines of MCU figures, I feel like they all work together. Here's Cap with my favorite comic-styled Marvel Legends Captain America, and here he is with the Mezco 1/12 Collective Captain America. And the SH Figure Arts Civil War Captain America. Civil War? I think that's Civil War. I told you he was hard to stand. He keeps falling backwards. There we go. But if I remember right, this one's just as much of a pain in the ass. Maybe it's a Red Skull thing. Here's the movie Red Skull with a comic book Marvel Legends Red Skull. And one of my favorite Red Skulls, the 1/12 Collective version. For giggles more than anything, here's the movie Crossbones with the comic book Marvel Legends Crossbones. Yeah, no. And then here they all are with Gus. You and me must shop at the same store. I gotta get me a pair of them matching gloves. Wait! That guy ain't got no skin on his head, and I dropped my boot. So at the end of the day, I love most of this. Captain America, I feel like it's time for a new sculpt, a new body, a more proportionate body. This one's done its time. It's time to retire it. With the San Diego Red Skull coming, I can't help but feel I want to try to get that for the trench coat look, and then I can use this as a soldier. I'll need another one as a different soldier, kind of flank Red Skull, but I don't like this as Red Skull. I like it as a trooper. And then there's Crossbones. For some reason, I love this figure. I love the design. I love all the kibble all over it. It just works out great. It's a nice, bulky, blocky design. The figure's kind of small, like I said, some proportions there. The head may be a little bit tiny, the shoulder's a little bit low, but put him in an action pose and he's kicking ass. He's taking names. And that smallness kind of helps it to fit into my overall display, which mixes and matches figure arts, some Marvel Legends, some of the smaller stuff. Maybe, I don't remember what other lines have put out figures here, Revoltech. I'm not liking this new separate top of the head stuff going on. I do like it that the paint separates nicely. It's two different colors. They paint it while the hair is off. And I've been told the photo reel doesn't work for deep crevices, so maybe that's why they did Captain America that way. Get his eyes photo reeled on and then put the helmet down over it. It's just a factory thing of getting the helmet on consistently. I've seen some pictures of other people's version of this. It looks good. The eyes aren't like mine, not covered up by the mask. So I may do some tweaking later, but overall I am happy. These are definitely going on the shelf. Well, not the Captain America. Why are we still using the same sculpt from how many years ago? There you go. There's some bitching before I go back to, man, Crossbones is amazing. I need 2 of these. So if you like the review, comment, like, subscribe. I'll catch you on the Fwoosh.